We are 4 days away from the legal tampering period in the National Football League. Free agency is right around the corner. And so let's talk about the best free agency fits for teams around the league. And, of course, we'll talk about your Dallas Cowboys, even though we know something about the Dallas Cowboys is they're not always good at utilizing free agency.
Not exactly big spenders.
Yeah, much to the chagrin of all the folks that keep up with this team. But with that being the case, we'll still do our due diligence. We'll still go through it. And I'm going to lean a little bit on Pro Football Focus here. And if you have a free agent that you would love to see on these Dallas Cowboys, go ahead and text it in, 877-881-1053. That's the truckwreck.com text line. I found this to be very interesting, Blake. Looking at Pro Football Focus, they put together, best free agency fits, and every of the NFL teams is represented here. In fact, I think I might be working off of a different list than you are. However, I found this one interesting because I wanted to make sure, and obviously there's all sorts of guys out there, but I was like, all right, let's look at the guys out there that maybe, just maybe, would be good matches.
Okay. Let's find some matches. Let's play matches.
And for your Dallas Cowboys, I looked up and I go, hey, Tyron Smith pops up here.
Oh, I feel like he seems pretty familiar.
And I mean, like this makes sense when you talk about the idea of, signing a guy that clearly is a need for you. But this actually brought up a question for me when you talk about Tyron Smith. Because a lot of folks, when the news that Tyron Smith was likely not going to return for your Dallas Cowboys, the news specifically being that there was mutual interest, but they were further away from each other than seemed reasonable, at least at this point. I think there was a lot of people that asked a fair question, which is, how likely is it that you find someone else that is going to be better than Tyron Smith is when he is healthy? A big caveat. For this next season. Maybe for the future, yes, but for this next season where you were quote unquote supposedly all in, we don't have to delve all the way in there.
That's where I'm at. It's like I'm all about the future building, yes. So drafting a first round tackle, there's mock to be a lot of good guys around your spot at 24. I do think that is the right choice for the future, and Tyron's only getting old and you got to move on at some point. I get that. But it just doesn't match up with Jerry's all-in comments and wanting to be as good as possible this year.
Well, Jerry's all-in comments haven't matched up with Jerry's all-in comments.
I know, so I don't understand how you're going to slot a rookie in, and the Cowboys are very good at drafting O-linemen, especially in the early rounds and being plug-and-play players. We saw that with Tyler Smith not too long ago. But, there's a little bit of a learning curve. You're not going to be an all-pro your first snap. And unfortunately with the Cowboys, from how they're speaking and how the contracts are structured, they're not exactly in we'll wait 4 or 5 years and see what the team is. They want to win now. So I don't understand how getting 2 new pieces to your O-line when you have a guy that was already there is exactly going to make you, like you said, Reggie, as good as possible next year. It's going to make someone better or not as good as Tyron Smith. I don't see it happening for the future 100%, but it's just a weird space we're in right now where they're kind of feeding us 2 things.
Calvin Watkins, though, writes for the Dallas Morning News earlier today, Cowboys fans don't have to worry over finding a replacement for Tyron Smith. Ultimately, he's talking about the idea that this draft class has a ton of options. Obviously, at 24, there should be tackles available. And that seems like a place where, obviously, that's obvious that there's going to be the tackles available. Does that feel like that's going to be an answer immediately? And I know that David Hellman was just talking with the G-Bag Nation, and that was a good conversation. One of the things that he pointed out is, hey, and I know a lot of people have talked about it, but, Tyler Smith has shown to be a pretty damn solid left tackle.
Left guard or?
Left tackle.
Okay,
when
Tyler,
he played left tackle.
In college. I got you.
So, he played a little left tackle on this team as well in his rookie year.
Yep.
And so with that being the case, that is also an option for you where you move him back out. You have, Tyler Bass, or maybe you get another guard that, I don't know.
They're like Brock Hoffman as well.
But Brock Hoffman might have to step in as a center for you to start, right? Let's talk less of that. So, which of those sides do you fall in on? The idea that, hey, this isn't going to be that big of a deal to replace, or, hey, this is going to be something that you can fill in immediately?
I'm in 2 different spaces. I'm in the, yes, you can make a good O-line with what you got. I think the organization.
A passable one, maybe?
A passable one.
Okay.
You've made, from the comments from the organization, from people close to the organization, from Broadus even himself, they're high on Hoffman, they're high on Bass. I haven't heard anyone say that these guys are Pro Bowl type players or going to really play above the X's and O's, but I think they will be passable guys. And you can move Tyler Smith to left tackle, and also I think will be passable. Tyler Smith just had an all-pro season at left guard, so in my opinion, why change that when you have a recipe of 2 all-pro guards that you've got? So you've got that set. We already kind of assumed they're going to have to make an upgrade at center, and it was okay. That's where you're going to spend your O-line capital, to an upgrade at center, and you have Tyron coming back. You just created so many holes that I don't know if moving Tyler, and now that's an experiment. If yes, we've seen moments and phases of him being good at left tackle, but we don't know for an extended period of a season he's going to be better than he was at left guard. And now you might even have more questions on this O-line. I just think it's a big thing of you're going to be playing a lot of guessing games throughout the season and kind of this reshuffling of the O-line and roster when you want to keep your quarterback who you don't have under a new deal safe in the pocket.
From the 972, they say leave Tyler alone. He proved to be one of the best left guards in the league last year. But, I mean, one of the things that you always have to remember, though, that tackle position, when we start talking about, like, position value,
it's definitely the most premium on the line.
Ends up being significantly more premium, right? And so I think that might inspire your decision-making matrix if you look up and you go, is it easier to find a guard who is immediately more plug and play and ready to go? I don't know that that's necessarily the case, but those are some of the options. As I know, your options are to replace Tyler, or Tyron rather, play Tyler there, or draft one, or go into free agency and maybe find one. But I don't know. It doesn't seem like there's any place more abundant where you have an option to do that besides like the draft.
Yeah, it's weird because what was Tyler's problem coming out of college was penalties and
holding, technique.
I feel like when you move a guy to guard, and correct me if I'm wrong, it kind of decreases those opportunities as much. So
you're playing a little bit more in a phone booth, and now you can rely more on your physicality, your strength, your power.
And he wasn't just passable at left guard; like he was one of the better left guards and one of the bright spots of that O line. So you fix one issue, but you create another. And is left tackle more important than left guard? 100%. But you've already fixed that left guard problem. I would love to bring Tyron back, but in this hypothetical, he's not, and in real life, he's not. So I think either figuring that out through the draft or through free agency will be more of a 1 + 1 = 2 rather than we're going backwards and trying to patchwork the O-line. But I think they got some guys within the building that they like as well to kind of fill some of those spots.
All right, here's some other on the truckreg.com text line, some folks that people mentioned from the 214, Justin Simmons or Eddie Jackson, just some safeties coming in. I mean, that sounds great. It's tough because I know that you have a couple of safeties already still on the books. When you talk about Malik Hooker, talk about Donovan Wilson, those guys still are there. And I don't know how much this organization completely wants to change their MO when it comes to valuing safeties. I know that they showed some level of value in the safeties with Dan Quinn there. And it makes me wonder, you tell me how you view this, how much of that feels like we're following what Dan Quinn wants, as opposed to we want to have a mentality shift around this position as an organization, because it feels like it's more the former than it is the latter.
Yeah, I think with safety, especially the way that Dan Quinn played them, you might see some of these guys start to phase out later, but a lot of these guys are still under contract. I think there is a lot of
including some of the young guys as well, like Wanye, prospect.
Bell is going to move back there. So I know everyone doesn't think safety was like this super big bright spot, but these guys are under contract and they played, I think, passable. I don't think they had an all-pro season, Pro Bowl season. Obviously, they didn't get selected there. And if you've been keeping up with around the NFL, which we'll get to at 7:40.
That's right.
We're going to talk about all the free agencies they got let happen. A lot of safeties on the board, so I understand the want to go get some of those guys. I just think there's too many holes in this team. But I could see a mentality change in safety coming, but I don't think that happens this offseason.
And 214 mentions Mike Zimmer likes safety, so of course we'll see how that ultimately plays out. Another person mentions Azeez Al-Shahir, who played with linebacker, played for the Colts most recently. Or sorry, not the Colts. Titans rather. Yeah. I got the Blues confused.
Hey, that Titans blue. Ooh, that's a good blue. That's that powder blue.
I don't know. Like, they don't lean into the powder blue all that much.
Like the Chargers do, yeah.
But regardless, how about this? Okay, so Pro Football Focus mentions for your Cowboys, free agent. How do you like Grover Stewart?
I love him. Good run stopper.
Grover Stewart, 6'4", 313. So when you're looking at some of that big body, big weight, There you go. And you mentioned run stopper, right? Like he's graded pretty highly when it comes to run defense. Pass rush, not as much.
Don't care.
That's not what you're looking for from a defensive tackle in that place. You like that as a potential free agent look for the Cowboys?
Yeah. And does it say what his market value is? I don't think he was like at the very tippity top. So I'm guessing that, as the Cowboys love to maybe not break the bank when it comes to free agency, that he'd be a guy that's a little bit more affordable. So that's also a reason that the green in my eyes struck when I saw that. I was like, Grover Stewart's kind of an underrated name that you haven't heard too much about, but is a really good run stopper. So I think he'd be a great fit.
I'll have to look. Let me see if I can check, because Spotrac usually does a good job of giving you an idea of what projected value is for a particular player. I'll have to see if I can maybe find what that is.
Grover.
But yeah, like I'm also intrigued by the idea of a guy who can get up there and really be impactful at the point of attack when it comes to run. We already know Mike Zimmer has that level of want for the interior of his defense, as specified by Will McClay himself. We heard it from the horse's mouth via DallasCowboys.com, the idea that, hey, man, this is a place where they want to be bigger, they want to be stronger, and so having someone like Grover Stewart would be really helpful in that way. And so, yeah, no, I'm also intrigued by that particular potential addition.
I would love Grover. Grover is a great fit. And does it say, do we have a, let me look up his age. I'm asking you all these questions like I don't have a computer as well. Grover Stewart age, because he's 30. I think that's good for a defensive tackle. That doesn't cause any concerns for me.
No, I don't think so. I don't know that you're looking at a dude who's gonna like fall off the cliff or what have you. But yeah, like I'm interested. I mean, there's some guys out there that you like, and of course, Spotrac doesn't give me a good idea of market value there. But I mean,
now he was suspended 6 games in 2013 for PEDs.
Mm-hmm.
Does that impede you at all?
Not really, because the NFL isn't. As much as the NFL has a track record and history of being like the Law and Order and being real jerks about these things, when it comes to like PEDs, they're really, especially nowadays, they really feel like they're on the, hey man, we got you, but we want to keep this moving along. And so I feel like
it's like an off-season training thing that you took a supplement that you didn't even know that it was a thing in your nutritionist. It's not like because the ones we see to get the big bands, it's because it was really performance enhancing during the season, doing something bad. I feel like those like off-season ones, 6 games, 4 games. It's just a little slap on the wrist.
So there you go. That's when it comes to the Cowboys. That's where we're tagged in. Is there any other teams that you're like really interested on?
Maybe the Eagles.
Yeah, okay, that's fair enough. You want to look at what's happening in division,
because I heard them trying to get Derrick Henry. I think it was either Derrick Henry or Tony Pollard. Well, they were interested in one of those. I can't remember which one.
Well, when I say it, this will make a lot of sense. Pro Football Focus has attached to the Eagles as their fit for free agency cornerback Kendall Fuller.
Yep.
And like that secondary was
they need like 4 corners.
It was very problematic last year. And so the idea that you add someone like Kendall Fuller who can cover top 10 coverage, in fact, when we talk about cornerbacks, that's a severe necessity for that team. And obviously for all the Cowboys fans listening, I hope that the Eagles go nowhere near good coverage cornerbacks so that
and
continues
boy,
to be
do they
an issue.
need it, man. I mean, their first 2 picks might be corners in the draft. They need the help.
Any other ones that you want to hit real quick before we move on? Someone said they're from the 940. They said they're all in on Frankie Louvu.
Yeah, I like
that's the guy out of the defensive tackle from Carolina, right?
Yep.
And
no, Louvu's the linebacker.
Yep. Is he Carolina though?
Yep, Carolina.
Okay. Yep. I did the thing where I moved that around.
No, you're good. He was in that Carolina game. He was all over the field. I remember Louvu and Thielen being the 2 ones that killed us in that Carolina game. Because remember that game was oddly close.
Yeah.
Like until like midway through the third, if I remember, it was like 13-6, 13-10. It was like a 1-score game, and then we took advantage.
I know a lot of people mentioning linebackers, and rightfully so, and some of that is like 904 mentions this, right? Questioning how Overshown fits in Zimmer's scheme, because like again, we mentioned bigger tackles, but also likes kind of the bigger linebackers, and Overshown's a little bit of a smaller one. I don't know that we have answers onto how he will like him. I imagine some of that will be, hey, you have to figure out how to utilize
I was about to say, off-season is going to be big for him. We don't really know.
Get him some peanut butter sandwiches or what have you. But then also, I imagine maybe utilizing free agency, again, if the Cowboys get around to doing that, to add to that play so that maybe he does not have to be the end all be all, but he can be a part of it, of your linebacking core, as opposed to having to be foundational, which is where you are right now.
Yeah, so we're hearing Saquon to Philly. That's what I was thinking. I got the running back market is insane.
The running back
every
market
running
is
back and
hilarious.
safety you could think of is on the market right now.
And so,
oh my.
Yeah, well, we might have to find a way to get back into the running backs at some point, because it just continues to be incredible to me. The idea that we'll get to see how teams value running backs, like the top tiers of the running backs, very soon here.